Welcome to OBM Unscripted, where the systems get sassy, tech tantrums are tamed, and real talk rules the mic.
We're your hosts. I'm Christy Beard, your go-to strategist and business coach.
I'm Muneeba Brooks, your operations and tech whisperer.
And I'm Layna May, the guru of systems and workflow magic.
We're all accredited OBMs, and we have seen it all.
If you've ever wanted to scream into a client brief, cry over Zapier, or Google, "Can I invoice for emotional labor?" you're in the right place.
This is your space for behind-the-scenes stories, hot takes, and community vibes for OBMs, VAs, and online service bosses.
Real talk, real answers.
Unfiltered,
Unscripted.
Welcome back to OBM Unscripted. I'm here with Layna and Muneeba today, and we're going to discuss your OBM superpower. So, Muneeba, what would you say? Let's define superpower. What would you say that is?
To me, superpower is something that I'm very good at, very comfortable doing, and something that I absolutely excel at that I could do with my eyes closed and hands tied behind my back. So that's my definition of superpower anyway. Whenever I'm talking to other OBMs or other VAs or what have you, and I ask them, what's your superpower? That's actually a line taken from my intake form for people who want to work with my company is, what is your superpower? So what do you like doing? What brings you so much joy that you're like, I just want to do this forever and I don't care if I get paid or not, even though we do need to get paid because we're in this to get paid. So for me, my superpower is putting puzzle pieces together. I really enjoy that. And when I think about how that transfers into my role as an OBM, it's operations. What puzzle pieces do you need together to make sure your business is streamlined and runs smoothly? And that could be many different things. Like, I'm really good at the HR piece of it and finding the people and qualifying the role and making sure that everyone's placed and trained and what have you. But I'm also good at the systems part of it. So all of that is now integrated into my packages and the way I do business. But I am curious, Layna, what's your superpower?
My superpower is things that I don't have to think about, that's just on, overdrive. I can see the problem and immediately mind map how that problem's going to be solved. And it doesn't take too much for me to map it out. So it's a lot of, I wouldn't want to say intuition, but it's actually a learned intuition where I've seen the problem so much that I immediately know how to solve it. Now I just have to put the puzzle piece together on how the visionary's brain is going to connect those dots. That's probably the tougher part and not the superpower, but I think the superpowers all kind of integrate together. It's the things that come naturally to you. It's the things that you've learned over time. It's all the things that make us great at our jobs and why we excel in our particular niche.
Yeah,
Are you, Christy?
I agree with that. I think for me, it's probably more of my analytical side where I see 30,000 foot view and can connect the dots or like next steps and that sort of thing. But I'm also sorry, I saw Muneeba's face. It made me laugh.
I'm sorry. I've got a cat pulling me up here. Look at this guy. I'm standing now and he can't jump this high. So sorry for that Neo interruption.
I also think that some of my superpowers would lean more toward the organizational aspects of just in general, like I'm a neat freak. I can't help it. Everything has a place. And so that would be like my business and personal superpower, being able to look at something and then figure out a place for it or where it fits within the puzzle, like what Muneeba was saying. I think that would definitely be part of my superpower for sure. So what if the key to success isn't fixing your weakness, but building a business around your strengths? So let's talk about that and what that would look like if we were able to, in a perfect world, build a business around our superpower. What would that look like?
I could say I've done that because coming from a VA background, when you're a VA, you're like expected to do all the things and know all the things and you just do it all. As when people are looking for help in their business, then I'm like, oh, I'll just hire a VA and the VA will take care of it. So you get inadvertently put into this spot where you're handling their social media, you're handling their email marketing, you're handling their back-end operations, you're handling the admin work, you're doing the calendars and the emails and you're doing everything. So it becomes you're the catch-all person. When I was transitioning from VA to OBM, that was something I had to grow out of because I was so used to doing all the things. When I started taking on the higher level strategy work and then looking at different pieces and talking to other VAs and other OBMs, and my business model slowly evolved to this point where I can still oversee the strategy of everything, but I know someone who is amazing at social media. So I talked to her and brought her on my team. And now she's still part of that project, but she's handling the social media piece. That's not necessarily where my strengths are. Like, I know enough, but I know that she can do it better because that's her superpower. She loves doing it and gets energized by it. So I can hand that off to her. I have someone else who's really good at websites. I can do websites, but you know what? She really loves websites. That's where her zone of genius is, wants to do more. And she can wake up and hop right in and do a website where I have to kind of ramp myself up to be like, okay, I gotta mess with this WordPress template again. So just because I can do it doesn't mean it's my favorite thing to do. And someone else does love that, and that is their favorite thing to do. So I kind of learned that it's okay to start delegating some of these pieces out that you don't necessarily enjoy doing, but someone else could do it better. And that's okay. It's great. You're still part of that as an OBM. You're overseeing it. Like with the projects that I have, I oversee it for the client. So now the client's not having to, did I talk to the social media person? Did I tell them that I needed to do this? The website, I wanted this on the website. So you take that off the client's plate, and as OBM, you handle that. And now you're talking to the VAs and freelancers or other team members that are in place to do those specific tasks. And you become the buffer between the business owner and the rest of the team. And you're making sure everything is done and is running smoothly. So that actually has become my reality, where I was able to capitalize on what I enjoy doing and delegate the not so fun parts to me out to others who are so much better at it than I am.
Muneeba, I'm going to dote on you for just a second because early on, when we first met, you had just started getting clear on what your actual superpower was. And then as we all started building our businesses, you were the first one to start building around those strengths. And what I took away from that as I was building mine was, okay, Muneeba has now found her superpower. She's building her business. Her main thing is making those CEOs feel safe in that environment because she's poking around in their business. So then I looked at my business and mine's different. I have a different niche, but it was about getting them out of their business and back into their superpower so I could take the reins of their business. And it was those little tweaks along the way that once I saw the click as you were doing it, I was like, that's how I do it. Okay, got it. I throw them back into their zone of genius. I take over mine, and then we delegate out to people who have better skills than we do in certain things. Whereas Christy, with your business, you systematize the back end first, and then you started figuring out what your superpower was based on your back end. So we all kind of had a different approach going forward into those superpowers. I think our journey in that was getting the clarity and the control that we needed to know what those dumpster fires were that we needed to start solving for our clients and to be in better service of them.
Yeah, I agree. I think, and you're right, that's what I did. I basically started with my superpower and moved forward from there. But what that did was that allowed me to use the experience and the knowledge that I have built over the years to do the same thing with my business that I have done for clients in the past. And it allowed me to see what it was like to actually build a business's back end online first before I move forward to building others for my clients. It is interesting how we've all kind of evolved into where we are now using our superpowers. So I love that, Muneeba, you're so right when you were saying that I think it is important to build a business that is you. And by doing that, it allows you to be more comfortable in your space. It allows you to be more confident because you know what you know and you've built it and you can do it for others. So finding other people that their superpowers are in a specific niche, I think is important because as entrepreneurs and CEOs of our own business, we do wear a lot of hats. And if we can outsource that any chance we have, we should do it just for our own headspace. It will yield a better result because it's their specialty, not ours.
Mind you, I do want to add that this wasn't, I took an assessment and I figured out my superpower. Or it wasn't, I did this course and I had everything figured out and my life was great. This was a slow progression over the course of a few years that I finally ended up in this spot. I may be an outliner. I don't know. I may be, more closer to the norm. But as I was going through this process of figuring out what I want to do with my business and what kind of OBM I wanted to become, the pressure was out there because it's like, here, just do this and get your clarity. And you should have done this course. And by the time you were done the course, you should know what you want to do. So sometimes, I know we talked about in previous episode, that imposter syndrome kind of creeps in and you're like, I don't know what I want to do. And then you start to question, should I even be doing this? That's when you got to tell your little imposter voice, take a back seat, not your turn right now, and keep moving through it every day. What eventually helped me identify my superpower is, what do I want to get out of my business? Why am I even doing this? So for me, that reason was I wanted flexibility with my time. I wanted to be able to spend more time with my daughter, and I wanted to have enough financial resources where I'm not thinking, oh my God, how am I going to pay the rent? Those are my 3 pillars. Okay, so I want to accomplish that. Now, in order for me to get my time back and, spend more time with my daughter, what do I have to do? What am I really good at that I can actually package and sell at competitive rate in the market? Because I wouldn't say my pricing is expensive by any means. It is competitive with market rates. So that's what I really had to look at, is what do I want to get out of this? And then from there, I followed the path and kind of just kept going down the road.
I think for new OBMs who are coming in trying to decide those things was not an easy thing. It wasn't easy for me either. I knew all these great things that I did naturally, but in real estate, admins are a dime a dozen. What isn't a dime a dozen is someone who understands how that real estate agent thinks and how their business runs behind. And it wasn't until one agent finally said to me, what do you think you solve better than anyone else? And that immediately clicked in my head. I was like, oh my God, that is my superpower. But I didn't look at it that way. It took somebody on the outside asking me the question of what I thought I did better than most people. I think a lot of OBMs, they need to ask themselves that question. What problem do you solve for people that you solve better than anyone else? It's not just operations or I love systems, or what do you do naturally and that you're constantly complimented on, that people are like, I don't know how you do this. It's so confusing to me. This is so wonderful. I think turning that chaos into your own personal clarity is what helps you find your superpower as you're building your business.
Yeah, I agree. And I think if you're an OBM or a VA or a service provider that's just starting out and maybe you haven't had a lot of opportunities to do things for clients, I would say look at the tasks that you do either in prior jobs or even in your personal life that you just like lose track of time doing, that is where you start as far as figuring out what your superpower is. Basically, it's whatever you do that you sit down, oh, I'll do this for about 5 minutes. 5 hours later, you're still doing it. That's where you start to look at your activities and your tasks to find your superpower for sure. So, okay, I have a question. Are you able to recognize things that just totally drain your strength? Let's go that way, or just drain your energy, I guess not your strength.
Now, yes. Before, no. Like when I was first starting out, like I said, you do all the things because you want to get paid and you want to be the everything for that client because you want that money to keep coming in. You want them to be happy. You want to build a good reputation. You want a good testimonial, and you want everything to go right because, you're trying to justify your skills to yourself. And eventually, I hit that burnout point when I was trying to do all the things and be the best service provider at that point for my clients. And you do hit the burnout because then sometimes the client's like, oh yeah, could you go ahead and just take care of the billing, but make sure that you go to the website and make sure, we need to create a social media post because we need to hire that person. And you're like, oh my God, what did I get myself into? I remember sitting at my desk and I was just like, I put my head on my desk and I was like, what am I doing? Like, this is within the current contract I have with this client. I can't do all of these things. Like, this is so much. What corner have I backed myself into? So that was kind of like my wake up call. I was like, okay, we need to stop and take a step back and really look at where have I ended myself up? And then splitting it up, taking a look. And when I did that and I actually broke apart the scope of what I was doing for this client, and this is before I had gone into scoping and making sure my packages were structured and what have you. So I was in that place of mess because I just wanted to do it right. And I just needed to pay my bills. And I wanted the client to be happy. And I wanted all those things. And then when I broke it down, I looked at it and I'm like, you know what? Doing the website takes me a long time to get started because I feel like I have to ramp myself up. The creativity isn't just there at the front of my brain. Whereas when I'm doing her finances, oh my gosh, I jump right into that. And I'm like, oh, this makes me happy because I can almost like hyper focus into a spreadsheet and just go and do and do and do and then get up and I'm like, wow, okay, analysis. And I feel good after I'm done. Whereas sometimes with graphics, I'm like, does that look okay? Is it centered? I don't know. I'm going to walk around and I'm going to come back and I procrastinate. And it takes me twice as long because I'm just slogging through the creative process because that's not something I enjoy as much. Like I could do it. I mean, faked it for a long time. And then I eventually had a call with a client and I was like, okay, look, we need to just talk about this whole scope for a second here. And I'm like, I have an idea and this is my solution that I know this girl and she's amazing. She's great with social media. This is her portfolio because again, I had already been talking to other people and I presented this as a solution and the client was honestly like, it's going to get done? Yeah, whatever. Fine. So again, I was putting all this pressure on myself where at the end of the day, the client just wants the thing to get done. So it really wasn't even that big of a transition to start bringing team members on for this particular client. And once I did that, I built a system around it. Okay, so how do I do this in the future? Because this made me so happy. I want to do this again with another client. And then I repeated that process and repeated it and repeated it. And it eventually grew into what is now my business model. So that's how I knew things that were soul sucking is I ended up with my head on my desk one day.
I think you mentioned a couple of really good things in that you get stuck in thinking you've got to do it all, just like your visionary does. Whereas you forget as an OBM, you can delegate things too. And a lot of times it's just bringing a solution to letting you delegate to that visionary. Just saying, look, I've already done the research. Here's how much extra it's going to cost, or here's how much time I get back to focus on these things that move your business forward. That now your visionary is like, okay, yeah, great, let's get it done. It's learning how to delegate before we burn out. Because I'm guilty of that too. I will do it all just trying to make the client happy. And then as I start to feel the burnout, I'm like, why am I not delegating this? I don't like to do it. Somebody else does it better than me.
And it's like when you're moving from the VA space to the OBM space, it's a really hard mindset to shake because, like I said, when you're taking on VA tasks, founders and CEOs just, I'm going to throw it at my VA and they'll take care of it. And that's the mindset that's out there, right? And unfortunately, the VA field itself has become quite toxic, where we've got founders and CEOs wanting to pay $3 an hour, $7 an hour, and wanting the VA to do all of these things and handle everything. So they want their cake and they eat it too, kind of thing. But at the same time, it's like you've really got to take a step back. And as a founder and as a CEO, take a step back and maybe consider the human aspect of it. But it's really, really hard because I read this somewhere that the best CEOs are like psychopaths. So they don't always have that empathy filter. When you have that empathy filter, Christy, when you have that empathy filter, sometimes it just makes it a lot more human and people want to work with you. And, you know, it becomes a more enjoyable experience as a whole. But not saying that that model doesn't work, because obviously it's successful, because offshore VAs are, you know, very popular, and North American CEOs and founders want that lower price point just so they can hand it off to whoever is going to take care of all of their stuff. But, you know, there's another conversation to be had there as well about the VA industry / OBM industry as a whole.
So, what do you guys think would change if more OBMs owned their brilliance and stopped trying to be everything? Because I know it used to be back in the day, everyone was niched, like they would do their own specialty. And then you ended up with like big box stores like Walmart and Target that they were everything to everybody. And now I'm noticing the trend is going back to everyone is niching down and they're doing their specialty. So what do you think would happen if OBMs actually own their brilliance and stop trying to be everything to everybody?
Take this one first because I have been there. What happens is once you start owning your specialty, the clients start finding you. Whereas you don't have to run out and constantly be selling and pitching to clients, because the client that you previously did a project for is now singing your praises and referring you out. And then clients are starting to come to you. Sure, you're still going to have to do sales. It's just part of it, but you get almost one-to-one. You sell one, you get a referral. You sell one, you get a referral. And that becomes your network. So when things are slow, you can reach out to your network later and say, hey, last time I did this project for you, you had this other project on the back burner. Are you ready to start that up? It's not even a cold pitch anymore.
That's on point. What about you, Muneeba?
I kind of agree, I mean, none of us got into this to cause ourselves employment trauma, right? You got into it for different reasons, and a lot of that is probably some kind of flexibility and some kind of control over your life and destiny. When you eventually identify what your superpower is that will allow you to reach that goal that you had in mind when you first got into this business, I think you would see that impact so many different parts of your life. Because as a person, you're going to be more relaxed, you're going to be more confident, you're going to feel like, I'm doing this. This is my thing. And you're going to own it. And that presence is now going to carry into different parts of your life, whether it's parenting, whether it's relationships, whether it's, you know, extended friends and family, whether it's just your community, whatever your goals are and other things that you have going on. It's going to bleed out that this is someone who is less stressed, someone who is confident and in control. And imagine the impact, the ripples that causes throughout your life in different areas. I know that sounds a little idyllic, but it's kind of true to me anyway, because I know when I finally claimed my niche or my superpower, I mean, I just felt so confident as a parent, you know, and now I can show up fully from where I'm not. With my daughter, I'm not just like, oh my God, my brain just melted all day dealing with this project. I don't have the bandwidth to now, you know, hop into the parenting role, where now I can come in with a sense of confidence, and our relationship is great because, you know, we can mess around because I feel relaxed enough to just play and maybe, you know, do makeup classes or whatever she has in mind, you know, for the evening. And I'm not stressed and I'm not thinking that, oh my gosh, I need to put that social media post out. oh, I got to really put that social media. And that tape is now running in the back of my mind. I can now be fully present for her. And that in turn, she now gets that connection time she needs. So when she's going into school, she's more grounded, she's more regulated, and she's feeling more confident to now attack her life and whatever's going on in the life of a 6-year-old at school, So it does bleed out. And then maybe that bleeds out to a point where the teacher's like, oh, thank God the kids were so well behaved today. And they have a good day. And then that ripples into their life. So, one small change, sometimes butterfly effect, you can't always predict where it'll go, but you never know. Try it. See what happens.
I think you both hit on really good points. People do come to you when you are known for a specific thing and you are more confident and you know that you can help this person or this client. And so I think it gave me something, because when I didn't want to network, because I couldn't really point people to a specific thing that I did. And until 7.0 of my business finally came to me, I didn't want to point people to me. I didn't feel confident. I didn't know which thing to tell them that I do or how I could help them. And so when I finally did decide to use my superpower as my main offer or my niche or whatever my business was about, it made it so much easier to talk to other people about and let people know what I was doing, how I could help them. And it allowed me to make good connections and start collaborating with people because I now had a focus. So I think it is helpful. So I do want to ask, before we end this episode, I want to ask, let's see, where did it go? So do you think niching by strength versus niching by industry, which do you think is better or stronger, or is there a difference?
I think it's a combination. I just happen to be in real estate long enough to be able to niche down into real estate. Could I apply this to other businesses? Absolutely. Do I have the passion for other businesses that I have for real estate? No. So that's really the difference.
Yeah, exactly. I think, what are your goals? What's going to make you happy? And go from there.
What about crafting services that reflect your best skill set? What would you say would be a place to start, or how would somebody go about setting up offers that reflect their best skill?
Come on in and get a business course. I mean, you can talk it out. Sometimes market research helps. Sometimes you might be in a course that helps you structure these and they have a structured way of getting you there. Sometimes you can pull up assessments or what have you and try and work through that process. I think it's going to be different for everybody, what your goals are and what you eventually want to get out of this. Because for some people, being an OBM or a VA or an online professional, it's a side hustle. It's not a full-time thing. Okay, great. So then structure your packages around that where, short term, short commitment, short time frame, and put your pricing accordingly, with whatever metric you're using. But for others, this is our full-time gig and this is our sole source of income. You can dream bigger because you have more time to put into it and then kind of go from there.
Put together a package that I thought would be like the best thing I could do for a client, most experience as far as, all the bells and whistles. And that was my big offer. And then I started taking things out and that made the second, and then taking more things out and that made it the basic. So I kind of did it backwards. But that was kind of how I did it when I was setting up my stuff.
A lot of good insights today.